The M16, a true pinnacle of American freedom, and the first assault rifle to be adopted as standard in the US Army. In this video we will be discussing the M16, from its beginning as an unreliable rifle during the Vietnam War, to the now well-renowned, highly accurate weapon we all know today. We will also be discussing the M16's little brother, the M4, the smaller carbine variant that seems to be taking America by storm. After the Second World War, the US sought to develop a new automatic weapon to replace the Garand, the Bar, the Grease gun, and the Thompson. A large request, a weapon to replace almost every gun in their inventory. While most of the world were now moving on to develop weapons that used an intermediate cartridge, the US instead chose a larger, heavier cartridge, thus inventing the 7.62 by 54 NATO. While the M14 that eventually replaced the above weapons, it presented its own problems. Despite being capable of automatic fire, it was advised against, as the 7.62 sought to become too powerful to control, even for the toughest of Marines. Another prototype that was entered into the arms competition was the 7.62 AR-10 by Eugene Stoner. Although quite primitive looking, this would later be the foundation for the M16. After the M14's flaws became apparent, a request for a 223 or 5.56 by 45 NATO weapon to replace it was sent, and thus the AR-15 was born. The weapon had to contain at least a 20-round magazine and be capable of piercing a standard US helmet at 500 yards. The damaging power had to be on par or exceed the 30 caliber round. As of 1963, the AR-15 was concluded as superior to the M14, and all production of the M14 was halted. In 1961, before the weapon became standard, 10 models were sent to South Vietnam to be tested by soldiers. It was well received as being accurate, easy to control, and with good stopping power. Subsequently, another 1,000 units were sent in 1962. After extensive testing between the AR-15, the M14, and the AK-47, the Army eventually reported the M14 was the only weapon suitable for purpose. When inspectors went to examine the method of testing, they discovered it was biased towards the M14, bringing an end to the aforementioned production of the weapon and official adoption of the AR-15 under the designation of the M16. The M16 had some fatal flaws, however. Most notably was the lack of a chrome-plated chamber. The XM16E1 was devised, a variant that included a forward assist on the weapon to make sure the bolt went all the way forward when loaded. This variant was put into the hands of all branches except the Air Force. Some controversy surrounded the rifle's reliability, however. The weapon was not suited for jungle conditions, and troops were not issued with the kit or instructions to clean the weapon. The weapon was marketed as self-cleaning, which has never been accomplishable even to this day. One report by a Marine Corps veteran said, "We left with 72 men in our platoon and came back with 19. Believe it or not, you know what killed most of us? Our own rifle. Practically every one of our deads was found with his M16 torn down next to him where he had been trying to fix it." A lot of problems, however, were fixed by the M16A1 variant in 1968. During a survey of what soldiers preferred to carry, 85% said they liked the M16A1 or its carbine variant, the XM177E2. 15% favoured the M14, and less than 1% carried the AK-47 or Stoner rifle. The rifle saw later improvements, including the M16A2, which featured burst instead of full auto, as well as a circular forend instead of a triangular one. The M16A3 saw similar design to the M16A2, but saw the return of the full auto fire mode. The M16A4 was a burst fire variant, with 4 Picatinny rails on the forend, as well as a removable carry handle. It is the current in-service rifle of the USMC. The M4 shares similarities to the Kar-15 weapon family that served during the Vietnam War. The weapon is essentially a shrunken down M16A2 with a telescoping stock. The weapon was originally designed in 1984 and adopted almost 10 years later. A later variant, the M14A1, was released in 1991, a fully automatic variant designed for special forces and operations. The weapon is designed to be extremely modular, featuring an interchangeable barrel and receivers, multiple Picatinny rails, as well as the ability to remove the carry handle to mount custom optics. The weapon is held in high regard throughout the US Armed Forces, even going to replace certain SMGs in service. Although it is a carbine, it is still accurate enough to be used as a universal rifle. Thus seems to be phasing out the M16A4. A recent report says that more than 90% of the troops issued with the weapon are happy with the change. The M16 started life from a humble beginning. Although overshadowed by the M14 at first, the rifle eventually broke through to see the adoption by the US Army. Not without its flaws, however. After a bit of fixing up with the reliability issues, the weapon was held in high regard throughout the US Armed Forces, although with the rising of his little brother, the M4, will end up in the same situation as 1911, as a relic of a time past, only serving in specialist roles or in the hands of veterans who remember the good old days. Only time will tell.